Okay, so welcome. Happy whatever day it is, Thursday, I guess. Tonight's pose or tonight's class is Halasana, plow pose. Yeah, so not shoulder stand, but plow. So a little bit of a reference to it being spring. So the plow is obviously the instrument of turning the earth, the instrument of turning the ground, the instrument of freeing up space for there to be some new kind of growth. And I sort of like that if you look at the position of plow is like many other inversions, we often do it after shoulder stand, which is an inversion, but that it's really very similar to a lot of other poses that we do. It's just upside down, right? It's an upside down forward fold is essentially what it is. So you're balancing on the ridge of the shoulders, but you're upside down. So there's this sense in my mind that ability to kind of go from plow to shoulder stand is kind of like that uncurling of the spine, the uncurling of the spine in its reverse, instead of coming from an already standing position and coming, or standing forward fold and coming up, is you're doing it upside down, right? So you're literally taking the roots of you and reaching them to the sky, right? So if you have this kind of sensation, and again, we're doing plow, not shoulder stand, but the body mechanics are so similar, right? That even when you're in plow with the legs all the way overhead, is that extension of the spine that you would have in shoulder stand is still happening. So there's this sense of taking the roots of us and trying to grow them up into the sky, right? And that awareness of your core ability is different than the way you hold yourself upright when you're normally standing. So that's sort of the mechanism or the attitude I feel like of plow, is that we learn to take what we automatically feel or what we take for granted, and we learn to use it in a new way. We learn to actually be in a position where we can direct that energy, not just the way it always goes, but we can be in, not in charge of, but we can really be in tune with the experience of growth, right? Instead of growing happens to us, we are in the moment of actually moving into the growth, moving into the expansion. So that's the point of plow, or that is the energy that is very much there in plow. But it's a lot about your back, and it's a lot about understanding extension, how it happens from the core, and not as something that is automatically done just from your arms or your legs or any other extremity. So eyes closed if you're not there already, comfortable seat. It's nice at this point, at this time of the year, right? We start talking about, or we start thinking about the newness of things. So to really connect to the energy that it takes. And one of my favorite metaphors, if you think about how much effort, how much energy it takes for a seed, a sprout to burst forth from a seed, or for a butterfly to push its way out of a cocoon, or for an animal that's been asleep for months to rouse itself into wakefulness. Is that it's not the being awake or the being asleep that really matters. It's the power that's in that moment of change. And if we can harness that, we can be in tune with that, then there is literally nothing that we are not able to grow through, that we're not able to grow beyond. But those moments for us tend to happen unnoticed. So plow is getting the preparation, or getting into creating space for you to be able to harness that power. One more deep breath. And then as you exhale, releasing the breath, take the hands together in front of the heart center, palm to palm. And we'll open with the sound of Om. Deep breath in. And let the eyes float open. Nice, you guys. Stay seated, please. Take your hands back behind your head. So you have the choice here. You can stay seated cross-legged if you'd like, or you can come into Virasana, so coming up on the shins and sitting with your hips between the heels, or onto a block if you need to. That's another option. Because again, we are looking at, for plow pose, to have a lot of space in the lower back and spine. So if sitting cross-legged is something that tends to not feel spacious in your lower back, you need a lot of props or something like that, then maybe consider Virasana, because that will already start to get you more into a neutral and open spine. All right, so those are your choices. But then bring your hands back behind your head. Good. Give a little squeeze of the elbows towards each other. And as the elbows squeeze in, dig those elbow tips down towards the floor. So you're squeezing your elbows towards each other. So almost like they're going to come to face forward, squeezing them alongside your ears. And then dig those elbow tips down, like you're drawing a line straight down in front of you. So Emily, you got to bring your elbows closer. Yep, squeeze them in. And then drag down. So you're pulling the arm bones back into the shoulder socket and then feeling your chest lift as you drag backwards on the arm bones. Head presses back into your hands. Good. And then maintain this feeling at your lower armpits. That's the point of digging the elbow tips down, as you get that lower armpit area awake. And then bring the elbows back wide again. Good. And then begin to twist to your right, turning from your belly. Draw the navel towards your spine and rotate the rib cage. Like your left rib cage is actually rotating around towards the front of your body, and the right rib cage just goes wide. Good. Come back to center, please. The elbows stay in the same alignment. Move the other way, twisting to your left. Good. Again, drawing the rib cage back and in, drop into your seat. Imagine that right back rib cage spinning around towards the front of your mat as the left rib cage goes wider. So actually feel like your left ribs are pushing wider to the left. Good. And then come back to center, go to the right one more time, maintaining the squeeze of the elbows and the dragging down of the tips of the elbows, the armpits, twisting to the right. Good. Keep your seat level. Navel to spine. Left rib cage spins forward, right rib cage pushes wide to the right and softens back. Good. Come back to center. Twist to your left. Again, as you're exhaling, let the spine start to rotate. And again, you're drawing the back of the right rib cage around, and then feel that left side rib cage move wider to the left and soften backwards. Good. And then come back to center, please. Nice job. Stretch your arms out and wide. Do little arm circles. Good. Stay really steady in your seat, but move the arms. Nice. Good. And then move your arms the other way. Take your circles the other direction. Good. Nice. And then come back to stillness. Turn your palms to face up, and then take the arms all the way up alongside your ears, reaching straight up. Turn your palms outward now, facing down, and push the arms out and down. So straight out, take them back to that letter T and all the way down towards the floor, tips of your fingers down to the floor. And then turn your palms to face up, sweep the arms around and up, all the way up alongside the ears. And then turn the palms facing the other way, push out and down. Again, as you're pushing out and down, you're feeling the extension of the arms from the chest. Turn your palms to face up, sweep the arms up. So that armpit chest area, you want to be engaged. Turn the palms face out. And as you press out and down, imagine the air is heavy. So you're really using muscular energy as you push down. Turn the palms up, reach the arms up to the sky. Good. You can reach through the side ribs as you do that, turning the palms facing down again, push out and down, getting wide shoulders away from the ears, all the way down. Last time, turn the palms up, reach to the sky, squeezing the arms like you've got a block between your hands. Good. And then turning the palms out and pressing out and down like you're moving through heavy air. Good. And then release, please. Good. Drop your right ear towards your right shoulder. Take the right hand up to the side of the head. Walk your left fingers out wide to the left. Good. So you're allowing the weight of the right hand to stretch the left side of the neck, reaching out through the left fingertips. Really reach out. So you're moving that left shoulder away from the ear. And then press your head up into your hand. So again, you're engaging the neck muscles just a little. Good. Mark, walk your left hand out wider to the left. Yeah, but don't let your shoulders go with you. Good. And then come all the way back up, please. Switch the hands. So dropping the left ear towards the left shoulder. Left hand comes up to just rest on that side of the head. Walk the right arm out as wide as you can, as long as you can. Fingertips on the floor. Good. So again, you're reaching out through those right fingertips like there's something there that you're trying to reach, but you can't look, right? Because you're driving or whatever. You can't turn your head. So you just reach with your fingertips. Reach, 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 reach. Keep reaching. So you get that feeling of extension from the shoulder to the neck. And then press your head up into your hand if you haven't already. Good. And then release the hands, please. Do a little bit of gentle circling of the neck. And again, because plow balances on the same place on the body that shoulder stand does, is you have to do a lot of kind of the same preparation for the pose, even though it's not a full inverted suspended position. So again, we don't want the effort of plow to be something that goes into the neck or into the head. Go ahead, move your head the other way if you haven't already. So if we don't start with a spaciousness in the shoulders or the neck, then those muscles are not very responsive. They don't hold us very well. Good. So they say if you try to grow anything and you don't have the right conditions, there's not enough space, there's not enough sun, there's not enough of availability, then your growth is stunted, right? Growth is inhibited. So we're looking to create the most stable platform of this upper neck and shoulder area so that plow is able to be something that is solidly supported, but not with strain. Good. Come back to stillness with the head, please. Nice job. Roll yourself forward to hands and knees. Good. Do a little bit of cat and cow just to move the spine. And again, get the sensation of lengthening the spine, front of the body, back of the body as you lift the sternum up and the tail back. And then exhaling from the middle of the spine, draw up and feel the whole length of the back body. Good. And then moving through neutral, inhaling, lengthening, and exhaling, drawing in. Good. And again, if you think about plow as being a forward fold, is that the more that we get into these long muscles of the back, is the more easeful plow is going to feel. So just being able to get the toes to come to the floor above the top of the head in that position means that the back has to be pretty open. The lower back has to be pretty open. The legs have to be pretty open. Good. Come back to stillness, please. Take your right arm out wide to the right, please. Thread the needle. Take your right hand or your right arm behind your left wrist. Right shoulder finds the floor. Walk your left arm forward straight. Press into both shins and try and widen your right hip wide to the right. So your left hip is going to hug in. Good. And then navel to spine. And again, you're imagining that you are taking from the back of your right rib cage, twisting towards the floor. So the left side ribs can open a little bit more. Good. And hollow your low belly here. So again, you're getting the sacrum nice and full, pressing down into your shins, pressing your sacrum up towards the ceiling. So the low back pushes up, even though the rest of your body is resting towards the floor. Metaphor for plow, right? Is that your butt is going to be the highest point. So you get into that feeling of how can I lift through my lower back? Good. Come all the way back to hands and knees, please. Go to the other side. Take the left arm out and wide. Slide behind the right wrist. Left shoulder finds the floor. Walk the right arm forward towards straight. Good. Pressing into both shins. Hug that right hip in towards the midline. Push the left hip wide. Good. And then that stays really stable, neutral angle. And the left side rib cage from the back is actually rotating towards the front of the body. So this is one of those secrets of twisting, is that the back body is actually what is moving. And it's actually your abdominals that are initiating, right? So the navel to the spine, left side ribs are tucking under so the right rib cage can rise up and press into both shins. Good. And see if you can feel the sensation of your sacrum rising up towards the sky. So a hollowing of your low belly, and maybe even pressing down through that left arm that's on the ground, and feeling that you can move by pressing down. You can actually make space between the left shoulder and the ear. Good. And then unwind, come back to hands and knees. Nice. Downward facing dog. Tuck your toes, lift your hips. Good. Pedal the feet a little bit if you'd like. Good. Good. And then steady the heels, please. Take the right foot forward between the hands. Lunge. Good. Inhale the arms up to the sky. High lunge. This is just sort of to warm up the legs. So squeeze the feet towards each other. Squeeze the legs towards each other. Good. And then interlace your fingers. Press the heels of your hands up towards the sky. And as you do that, all the way up towards the sky. Yep. So press the heels of the hands out. Palms facing up. Good. And pull up through your side ribs. Pull up through your side body. Squeeze the legs and pull up. Good. Low belly draws in, middle ribs draw in, pull up, pull up, pull up. Good. And then let your pelvis go deeper into the lunge, but stay pulled up. Yes. Good. Now take your arms back behind you, lean forward parallel to the floor, arms reaching back behind you. Don't interlace the fingers. Good. Just palms facing towards each other as though you have a block between your hands. Good. And hug those arms towards each other. Keep lifting your arm bones forward and up. So it's like you're lifting your sternum. You're not rounding your upper back and you're squeezing those arms. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Lift your hands a little higher and squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Lift your chest at the same time that you lift your hands. Nice, Sarah. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Yeah. And then release the hands down to the floor. Nice job. Step your left foot forward just a little bit. Take both legs to straight. Parsvottanasana. Good. Again, everything that you would do to help support forward folding, straight legs, is what you want to do to prepare for plow, because it's the same extension through the back, same extension through the lower spine. So notice here in Parsvottanasana how much your back feels like it needs to round and where it feels like it needs to round. So if you have blocks underneath your hands, great to round your back on purpose. Set your left hip spinning forward, draw the top of your right low belly up and wide. So reset your pelvis a little bit more square. Good. And then see if you can keep that lift through your sacrum, but then start to extend your spine forward. So take your chest slightly forward, sternum forward, pull your arm bones up into your shoulder socket, pull those shoulders wide away from your ears. Good. This is where we start to learn again in every position to have that support of the upper back, widen the shoulders away from the ears, extend the head. Good. And notice the places here in this position where your back feels like it needs to round, because that's where it's going to continue to have pull or get stuck when you're in plow. The places right here where it feels like it needs to round. Good. And then release the upper body. Please step your left foot forward alongside your right, standing forward fold. Good. Bend your knees, drop your belly onto your thighs, wrap your arms around the backs of your legs, drop your head. Good. As you're squeezing your legs here, again, round your back, pull your belly up off of your thighs, dropping the hips, pull your belly up, round, round, round. And now pull your shoulders wide away from your ears. So engage those arm bones up into the shoulder socket and pull those armpit shoulder blades down towards your hips and round. So you have more space for your neck. Good. Now stay like this and start to straighten the legs any amount. Push into your heels, take your butt towards the sky. Good. Do it from your low belly. Nice. So this is a lot of that position of being in plow. Keep your shoulders wide away from your ears. Don't stop engaging that. Good. Nice, nice, nice. And again, notice where the back continues to need to round in this position. It's okay that it's doing it. Just pay attention to where. And then release the hands down to the floor. Nice job. Separate your feet maybe a little wider. Bend your knees, walk your hands up onto your thighs. So like a chair pose position, maybe a little wider with the feet. Hands on your thighs, cat-cow your spine and chair. Good. And everything with the intention of freeing up space in the lower back so that there's a feeling that, again, that you can decompress the spine. That's that feeling of, or that image of if you're watching a plant grow, right, out of the ground against gravity. You want to have that sensation in your own spine as though it's that root, or it's the extension, the stem from the root that is reaching up for the sky. Good. Come back to stillness, please. Take the hands back to the floor, straighten the legs, forward fold. Nice. And then step yourself back to plank pose, please, upward push-up. You can jump if you want. Good. Drop your knees to the floor. Yep. So you're still in the plank position, but your knees are on the floor. So your hips should be forward of your knees. Nothing else has changed. Good. Bend your elbows just a little bit. Take them wide. As your elbows go wide, yeah, So a little less than that, Emily, just because you're going to make yourself crazy. So let your elbows go nice and wide and feel those shoulders as they hunch up towards your ears. So pull the shoulders wide away from the ears again. And now squeeze those armpits. So the arms are still wide, but you're squeezing your armpits, and now push the floor away, back up to a straight arm. Good. Don't let your hips drop so low, Mark. So you're still in a plank position. You're doing a modified push-up. Good. Bend the elbows wide again. Yeah, and with the elbows wide, you almost feel that pulling forward of the elbows, the pulling forward of the arm bones, and then press that wide away from your ears. Good, and then press into the hands, come back up to a straight arm. Good, one more time, like a wide-armed push-up. Bend your elbows out wide. Good, squeeze those lower armpits, but draw the tops of the shoulders wide away from the ears. Go a little lower, elbows wide. Good. And then press the floor back away, please. Nice job. Hips back to your heels, child's pose. I know you're like, she made us do 3 push-ups. Really slow. It's hard. So we have to harness power in the places where the effort needs to come from. Right? This is the other thing, is that you can have all of the greatest intention in the world for something to grow, but if you throw effort into a place where effort isn't needed, it's not going to create growth. And if you're ignoring the places that really need your attention because they seem like they're weak or that there is nothing that can be done there, then your growth is going to be inhibited. Right? So you're tilling the ground. You're turning things over and over and over again to say, where is there effort that's needed? And where can I release effort where it isn't needed? Good. Come back to downward facing dog. Tuck your toes, lift your hips. Good. So in your down dog, bend your elbows wide. And as your elbows bend wide, again, you can have the sensation of squeezing your armpits, squeezing your chest. So your arms are wide, but your armpits are squeezing in, and you're pulling those shoulder blades towards your hips. Good. And you're pressing through the top of your head. So your shoulders are going wide away from your ears with the elbows bent. Mark, don't drop your head. Keep it in line with your arms. Good. But nice bent elbows, nice and wide. That's it. Now pull your shoulders wide away from your ears. Make a lot of space there. That's it. Yep. Now with that, squeeze your elbows towards the back of your mat. So your armpits are still squeezing. Press into your hands. Pull your hips back to straighten your arms. Good. And keep the shoulders wide away from your ears. Nice. Left foot steps forward between the hands. This is just to get you using your shoulder girdle, right? Take the arms to the sky, high lunge. Good. Interlace the fingers, press heels of the hands up towards the sky. So again, it's a lengthening action. So pressing up, pull up through your side ribs, through your side waist. Good. Pull up through the front of your belly. Good. Squeeze the legs towards each other and then stay lifted through the torso, but drop your hips a little lower. Yes. Good. And then release the hands, please. Lean forward. Torso parallels the floor. Stretch your arms back behind you, palms facing each other. Don't interlace the fingers. Just squeeze the arms towards each other as though you have a block between your hands. Good. So your chest is lifting up, sternum up. So you're not rounding into the upper back. You're lengthening, and push your butt back even more. Butt back, butt back, butt back. Good. And now lift those hands a little higher, but keep your chest just as lifted and squeeze the arms. Yeah, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Lift the hands a little higher and squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Nice. And then release the hands down to the floor. Good job. Take the right foot forward just a little bit. Take both legs to straight. Parsvottanasana. Use blocks under the hands if you'd like. Good. And again, you're noticing, again, the places in your back that tend to be the points where tightness sets in, restriction sets in. Because it's different for all of us, right? Some of us, the lower back is what is really restrictive. Some of us, it's the middle back. Some of us, it's the upper back. Some of us, it's all of them have their own degree of restriction. But start to notice, because if you want to really progress in your postures, is you have to notice what your body's tendencies are and work with them, right? This is sort of the attitude of plow again, is that you have to continue to turn the ground over. You have to continue to make space. You have to continue to nurture anything that you want to grow. That means that you look with really no judgment at where you are right now, but you notice and say, oh, there's a place for me to pay attention. There's a place where there's work that can be done. That's something I can change. Round into your back a little bit more here. And as you round into your back, then press into your fingertips, either floor or blocks, lift your chest up higher. As you lift your chest up higher, pull, again, those shoulders wide away from your ears, extend through your throat, extend through the top of your head, and feel that pulling together of the lower tips of your armpits. So it's not just that you're widening the shoulders, but you're engaging chest and upper back. Good. And then pull your butt back. Extend your lower spine. Nice. And then release the upper body. Please step your right foot forward alongside your left, standing forward fold. Good. Again, bending the knees, dropping your belly onto your thighs, reach your arms around the backs of your legs, hug, dropping the head. And as you hug, round your belly, round your back. So pull your belly up off of your thighs, engage the abdominals, lift your hip points up off of your thighs. So again, you're getting that full curve, full rounding on your lower back, full space. And then draw the shoulders again away from the ears by drawing those shoulder blades towards your hips. You're hugging them onto your back. Good. So get those chest and back muscles awake. And then start to straighten your legs, pressing the hips up towards the sky, pressing down through your heels. Widen your knees just a little bit here. So press the knees wide into your hands. And then really imagine those inner thighs rotating back and wide. Good. And shoulders away from your ears. Don't stop engaging the upper back. Nice. So even though the back is curved in this position, there's no weakness in the shoulders. Beautiful. Release the hands down to the floor, please. Good. Separate your feet as wide as your mat. Toes facing straight ahead. Right hand reaches for left ankle, left arm to the sky, or left hand to your lower back, your choice. Good. As you're holding that right ankle, lean backwards, almost towards, you're holding your left ankle, lean backwards towards the right ankle on the diagonal. Yeah, so try and bring that left shoulder, right shoulder, my God, towards your right. No, it is your left shoulder, your lifted shoulder towards your right foot. Sorry. You know what I'm talking about. Good. Slowly release, come back to center. Please go the other way. Left hand to right ankle, right arm comes to the sky, or hand to your lower back. So the idea is that you are keeping the spine really extended here. So don't let the hips fall backwards. Lean your weight forward towards the tips of your toes. Good. And then really draw the shoulder long away from your hips. So extend those side body ribs, your side ribs get longer. And then lean backwards on the diagonal away from the twist so that you're really creating the space for your left rib cage to tuck under and your right rib cage to lift up. Good. Really nice, Mark. Nice, Emily. And then release both hands down to the floor. Nice job. Good. Heel toe your feet a little closer. Step or jump yourself back to plank. Good. Drop the knees down to the floor. Good. Remembering that feeling of drawing your shoulders wide away from your ears, lifting the front of your chest, lifting the back of your throat. Bend your elbows, drop down, modified chaturanga. So torso parallels the floor. Squeeze those upper arms in, squeeze those armpits in. Don't let your shoulder or your arm bones roll forward. Lift them up. No further than that, Emily. Lift your chest. Good. Now push yourself back up to plank. I know if you did that all with your arms, don't forget that you have a whole belly and back and legs. Lower down again. As you lower down, keep your chest lifting, keep your navel drawing up, resist the floor. So your elbows are bending, but your spine is holding you. Press into those knees. Good. You're dropping too low, Sarah. Squeeze those upper arms in, armpits in, and then push the floor away. Good. One more. Lower down. Try to keep the elbows pointing straight back, even if you have to take your hands wider. Take your hands wider, but this time squeeze the elbows back and in. Good. Chest up, arm bones rotating up. And then press the floor away. Really good. Child's pose. Yeah, you cannot get away with not using the entire body in plow. Or if you try to get away with it, it's going to feel like a lot of weight on your shoulders. It's going to feel like potentially a lot of weight on your neck. So again, we have to learn how to tap into that core energy so that we can use it to move against gravity. Plow is still an inverted position. Good. One more breath. Make it a good one. And then walk yourself back up, please. And then find your way onto your backs. Bring your block with you. Good. So I lied. Come back up to sit because this only works if you set your block up first. Sorry. So grab your block. Pay attention to what you're doing here. So you're going to take your block this way, right? So it's second height back behind you as though you were going to do supported fish. So it's going to come back behind you a little closer towards your sacrum though. So you're planting it on the ground, but do it horizontally, Emily. So sometimes when we do fish, we turn the block vertical in line with our spine. I want it this way, like horizontal across your back. Yep, exactly. You got it. Good. So what you're doing here is you're actually doing like a reverse crunch over the block. So the block needs to be behind you. You're sitting down with the block behind you. Yep. So as you are, again, like you're doing a reverse abdominal crunch, hands are going to be behind your head. You're going to lean back, right? You're going to come into that crunch position and the block is going to be just below the edge of your rib cage. So at the bottom edge of your rib cage. So that as you lean back, yep, the block is going to be right there and you're going to let your shoulders drop back, let your head drop back, almost like, again, you're doing fish pose. Don't let the block fall, Emily. So you're leaning over the block. Keep it upright. There you go. Yep, exactly. And then you're leaning back over it like you're doing a back bend over the block. Good. Keep your butt on the floor. Move the block a little higher. It's too low. Yep, just to the underside of your rib cage. Move the block a little higher towards your ribs. There you go. Butt on the floor. Good. Hands behind your head. Yep, press your butt down. So you got to use your back and your abdominals here. Bend your knees, plant your feet, Mark, just so that they're in a, there you go. Good. Yep, so you're letting yourself drop back onto the block any amount that is accessible. And now you've got to draw your rib cage in, abdominals in, press down through your seat, reverse crunch, come all the way up to sit. Good. You don't have to come all the way off of the block, right? You can just come up a little bit, but you're good where you are. And then you're leaning back again. So you want to keep contact with the block. That's totally fine. But you're leaning back over the block. Same thing. Keep your butt on the floor. Good. Try to keep those armpits engaged. Ribs in, abdominals in, and then crunch. Curl yourself back up towards sitting. Good. And then one more time, lean backwards. Yep. Butt on the floor, abdominals in, and then bring yourself all the way back up to sit. Good. Now you're going to situate yourself so that you can come all the way up, move the block so that when you come down, it's going to be slightly higher on your rib cage. So bra strap, right? Literally where you would place it to do supported fish. And same thing, leaning backwards, hands behind your head. Good. So this is an exercise, right? Keeping your hips on the floor that helps to create a little bit more mobility in your thoracic spine, your middle back. Good. Hands behind the head are a good idea, but they don't have to be there. Good. Keep the butt on the floor, navel in, crunch yourself up. If you don't come all the way up to sit, that's okay, but you want to bring yourself all the way up so that you feel that full engagement of your belly. And then lean backwards again. Good. Letting the chest expand, butt down, ribs in, and then curl all the way up. Nice. So it's like you're doing an abdominal crunch with a block underneath you. And then come backwards again. One more time here. Good. And then I'll curl all the way up. Beautiful. And then come all the way up to sit. Nice job. You come off with the block. You could do this one more time, taking the block slightly higher through your shoulders, but you start to lose some of the access to the back bend at that point. It's not quite what I'm looking for today, but that exercise, again, if the middle part of your back is where there tends to be a lot of restriction, then that exercise regularly is one way to start working with the muscles of your back in coordination with your abdominals. So if that didn't make any sense to you, reach out to me later and I'll troubleshoot it with you. Take your legs straight out in front of you, seated position, legs straight out. Good. Inhale the arms up to the sky. Good. Bow forward, reaching towards the feet. And just a curiosity, right? At this point in forward fold, if it feels like the back is a little bit more open, or it looks like Mark maybe overdid his abdominals. Yeah. Take it easy. Good. If you are holding the ankles or the feet here, round your back. So hang on to whatever solid that you have there and round your back. So pull the rib cage up, hollow the belly away from the thighs. Good. And then release all of that. Find your way all the way back up. Nice. And then scoot forward again. Bend your knees. Come back onto your back with your block. Don't worry, we're not doing more. More of the same. Come onto your back. And then bend your knees, plant your feet, lift your butt, place the block underneath your sacrum. Yeah, so place it where you would normally place it, the height that you would normally place it. Good. Make sure that your heels are really directly underneath your knees. You're like, oh, I don't know if they are. You usually can have a sense if your feet are fully planted. Good. And then exaggerate just a little bit this feeling of arching the lower spine. So almost like you're trying to get your butt to fall off of the block. So you're rotating the top of the pelvis slightly forward, groins roll down, inner thighs roll down. Good. But now press into that top ridge of your shoulders. So you can bend the elbows into robot arms if you'd like, or you can keep the arms straight, but feel that feeling of actually lifting your sternum up and pressing as much of that top line of your shoulders down to the floor. So it's not just the upper back where the shoulder blades are, it's literally that line that you can draw the very top of your shoulders from your neck. Like that's the line that you want to balance on in plow or shoulder stand. So you're lifting the sternum, so you have to find the back bend. And you're rolling that part of your top ridge of your shoulders down towards the floor and then pressing out wide. So it's not a squeezing of the shoulder blades behind the heart. If you just do that, you're going to actually narrow your shoulders. Get them wide, push wide, and press down into the arms. Nice, Mark. When you're still relaxed in your seat though, right? Because it's on the block. Good. And now maintain that with your upper body. Take your legs to the sky. You're like, I can't do that. Yeah, you can. So notice if taking the legs to the sky forced the attention away from your shoulders. If your shoulders lifted up, if you had to round, whatever you had to do to get your legs up, just notice. And keep that attention, widening the shoulders, pressing down through the arms. Good. And then go ahead and bend the knees, take the feet back to the floor. Good, lift your hips up off of the block into a bridge pose. Block is still there, just lift your hips so you're in a full engaged bridge pose. Keep widening the shoulders away from the ears, pressing down through the arms and squeezing those lower armpits in. So the top ridge of the shoulders goes wide, but the armpit chest is squeezing in. Lift your sternum up. Yeah. And then neutralize your chin. Drop your chin neutral again. Good. Now see if you can turn your block one height higher. Maybe you might have to come up on the tippy toes of your feet to do that. And still block underneath the sacrum, just one height higher. Good. And set those shoulders, again, widening the shoulders away from the ears, press down through the arms. Good. So you feel that lift of the sternum and the squeezing of the armpits, arms pressing down. And then see if you can take the legs back up to the sky. Again, you got to work from the low abdominals. Keep the focus on the upper back staying engaged. Nice. Good. Yeah, if your block is just too high and you're like, there's no way I can balance here. Good. So when you're that high, Mark, you got to really arch the lower back a little more so that your sacrum can stay on the block. So you got to take your feet away from your belly. I know. It might be just that highest setting of the block is just not quite going to work today for that. That's okay. Stick with the second height. Good. And then bend your knees, you guys. Nice job. Take the feet back down to the floor. Press into your feet. Lift your hips up off of the block. Again, into a bridge pose. Just focus on bridge. I didn't say to move the block. Good. And then go ahead and move the block. Release your hips down to the floor. I just didn't want your mind jumping to conclusions that you thought you knew what was coming next. It's none of your business. Bring your knees in towards your chest. I mean, you know what's coming eventually is plow, but you know, it's none of your business how we get there. Good. Squeeze the knees in, please. Good. Take the right thigh on top of the left thigh, separate your feet, reach for the ankles or the shins. Drawing the knees in towards your chest. Good. Right, so it's a little different, even though we're using the shoulders and the chest in a certain way, kind of habitually when we do plank or we do side planks or we do down dog, as we're using the shoulder girdle. But then when you flip it upside down into something like bridge in preparation for shoulder stand, it's the same muscles working, but it feels completely different, right? So we have to orient ourselves in that direction. We have to orient ourselves to feel like, okay, this is what it's like to stabilize using my shoulders when I'm upside down, when I'm facing another orientation than what I'm used to. And again, this is what makes us masters of our bodies when we practice asana, is the ability to be able to engage consciously no matter what direction we're facing, no matter what circumstances we find ourselves in. We always know where the sun is, right? That's the metaphor with plants or the lotus, is you always know how to reach for the sun. Switch your legs, please. Take the other leg on top. Right? The yogi's mind is one that is very skilled at finding where the doorway is to the experience of growth. It might be very subtle, it might be very minimal in the moment, but to know how to navigate to find what is spacious and how to create space in circumstances that are restricted. So it's considered the skillfulness of a yogi's mind, of a yogi's actions. To harness the power that is there, to harness the energy that is available, and to use it to move things into more space, to move things into expansion, to move things into fruition. Even if that fruition happens to be something dissolving or ending. Good. Unwind your legs, please. Squeeze the knees in towards your chest. Roll forward and back on your spine. Good. Bring yourself all the way up to sit, and then flip over onto hands and knees. Good. Come onto your forearms. Yep. Actually, let's do this with your block. So grab your block. Wasn't sure I was going to do this, but I am. So block this way on the floor. Between your forearms. So you're going to have your palms facing each other, thumbs facing up, pinky finger sides of your hands and your wrists straight down, pressing the block between your forearms. Good. And the point there is that you press, right? You squeeze. And as you squeeze, now you draw your shoulder blades towards your hips, your chest forward. So bring your sternum forward and hugging that block inward, pull back on the arms. So pull back on the shoulder blades towards your hips. Good. Now maintain that. Lift the back of your rib cage a little higher. Step your feet back to forearm plank. Hug the block, press down through the full length of your pinky finger side of your wrist all the way to the elbow. You're pushing down, hugging in, sternum lifts, pull back on the shoulder blades. Nice. And now maintain that. Start to walk your feet forward any amount. Take your butt nice and high. Feel those muscles at the middle ribs, middle back, engaging to keep your belly from dropping. Keep your spine really in one long extended line. Keep pressing into the pinky fingers of the hands. Push into the floor. As you push into the floor, you lift your sternum up. Yes, really good, Emily. This is extension, right? What you're feeling right now is you using extension. Good. And then walk your feet back to forearm plank. Nice. Chest lifts. Pull back on the arms, pull back on the armpits, shoulder blades nice and wide. Tops of shoulders wide. Drop the knees to the floor, press back child's pose. Ay, ay, ay. So we take for granted a lot. Most of us get into shoulder stand through momentum only. Right? We learn how to fling our hips up to the sky, and luckily we are strong enough in our back or our shoulders to hold ourselves there once we get there. But to be able to actually extend and float your way up into that position and then stay that extended through your spine and just let the legs drop into plow. So that plow is a spacious position, because for a lot of us, it's a collapsing position, right? We're just letting the legs hang, or we're letting there be a crunching or a condensing into the back wherever it is tight. So how do we avoid that as we really learn how to harness inner extension? How do I extend through my back? How do I extend through my navel? How do I extend through my low back, through my legs? Good. One more time, come onto your forearms without the block. You could interlace your fingers if you'd like. It's a little bit more challenging to just bring your palms flat so that your wrists are in line with your elbows. So almost like you had the block there, but palms flat, so it's your choice. A little bit softer on the shoulders to interlace the fingers. Good. If you have the fingers interlaced, take one pinky to the inside, press down. Again, this is important. Pushing down is what gives you the ability to really extend and rise up out of your joints, right? So press down and then feel almost like you're in that plank position already. Drag the armpits towards your hips, pull your chest forward, sternum forward, long throat, and then tuck your toes, step back to forearm plank. Good. Sarah, I would take your elbows a little wider. There you go. Because the real squeezing in, we say to squeeze in the arms, but the real squeezing is not the arms themselves, it's the armpits. So it's that muscle right at the bottom edge of your shoulder blade as it wraps around that curve. Good. So it's the armpits that squeeze more than it is the physical arms. Chest up, sternum up. Good. And then start to walk your feet forward by pulling your sacrum up, pull your hips up, and then feel your navel draw in towards your spine. Feel the whole front of your body sandwiched to the back of your body, so that it's your middle rib cage that's pulling you forward and your hips are just going higher and higher and higher. Up on your tippy toes is great here. Good. Drop your head, because you don't need to have your head looking forward here. But imagine this as plow. So pull up through your spine, pull up through your belly, push into those hands, push into your forearms. Nice. And then walk your feet back to plank. Chest lifts again. Good. You got to work the spine in both directions when you're creating mobility. You can't just do the one that you like. And then drop the knees back down to the floor. Please, child's pose. Oh, this is fun. Don't make that face. Good. Walk your hands back in, please. Find yourself seated either cross-legged or again in Virasana, your choice. Whatever seated position you would like. Take your right arm up to the sky. Bend the right elbow, place the hand behind the heart. Left hand comes up to hold the tip of the elbow. Again, just stretching the upper arm. Yeah. Good. You're really looking for the tip of that elbow to point straight up towards the sky. Good. It might not be possible, but that's what we're ultimately trying to create, that opening. Nice. Release and switch, please. Take both arms up, bend the left elbow, place the hand behind the heart. Right hand holds the tip of that elbow. And even as you are pulling or you're encouraging that left elbow point to point up at the ceiling, is you're also dropping the left shoulder away from the ear. So again, you're drawing the armpit down, shoulder drops down. Good. And then slowly release, take the arms out and down. Take the hands behind you, take your feet in front of you, hands reaching back behind you, palms to the floor, facing away from you. So turn your palms to face back. I know we almost never say this. Turn your fingers to face backwards. Good. You can let your hands be as wide as you want here. Going a little wider is usually really nice, especially if the shoulders tend to be a little tight. Bend your knees and start to scoot your butt forward any amount to feel the stretch on your chest and your shoulders. So keep scooting your butt forward. Keep your arms straight back behind you. So keep scooting your butt forward. Keep your arms straight back behind you. Keep going until you feel that that's enough. And that is enough, right? Not strain, but you're like, oh, there's my chest and the length of my arms and maybe a space in my back that I haven't felt in a long time. And again, if the shoulders are a little cranky, let your hands be really wide for this position. It's totally fine. Wide arms is great. And you're scooting your butt forward. Good. I wouldn't go any further than that, Mark, so that you just keep your shoulders rotating up and back. Good. Take one more breath. Chest is lifted. You're like, oh, my new favorite stretch. And then start to scoot your butt back towards your hands, release. Yeah, so that's a good one. If you've spent all day with your shoulders like this, that's a good one. Release the arms in the back. All right, find your way all the way down onto your backs, please. Good, take your legs up to the sky. Yes. Good. And then take your arms out wide, letter T. I think I want you to do it that way. Press your palms down. So again, you're really rooting through the upper back, keeping your low rib cage down and in. And then you're scooping into your low belly and using just your legs. So keep your head really relaxed here, maybe even gently pressing your back of your head down into the floor. Curl into your belly and try and lift your feet up towards the ceiling. Yep. Good. And then release. And do that multiple times. So just with each breath, you're trying to lift through your legs to take your feet up towards the ceiling. Don't swing your hips. Again, this is what we're trying to avoid is momentum. Keep the back of your head gently engaged down to the floor. This is about your lower abdominals more than anything else. Learning to use the lower abdominals with the legs. If this action doesn't really work for you, you could do this with knees bent also. Good. Nice. So now try it this way. Almost the same thing. Cross your right ankle over your left ankle. Bend your knees slightly. Good. And now with a bent leg, right? Try and scoop into your belly. Keep your knees bent, but press your hips up towards the ceiling. You're like, that's not easier. Good. Yeah, you got it. So you get that feeling of the little squeeze of the legs to lift the hips. Good. So your legs are all the way up to the sky mark while you're doing this. I think you have your feet on the ground. There you go. Awesome. And then release, relax that, squeeze the knees in towards your chest. I know, again, your muscles are like, what is even happening here? Lower abdominals, what is even happening? But this is, and you can notice from that, right? Our movement or our availability from that position tends to be really small, and it can be really almost disconcerting that we're like, wow, that's all the power I've got. And the answer is no, that's not all the power that you've got. But when you isolate that part of the body, right, you become very clear on how restricted certain movements are. And you know that your momentum that you usually use to get into shoulder stand is bypassing that. But when you get into plow, that restriction will reassert itself. You're not getting away from it. So it's just being aware that we get more skillful in the position. Our back is more supported and our spine is safer when we have this ability to access the power of our legs and our lower belly, right? So it's just something to practice, something to be aware of. All right, plant your feet for a moment. Take one bridge pose. So as you plant your feet, robot arms, bend the elbows, fingers pointing up. Again, do all of that work to set the wideness of the top of your shoulders. Feel those armpit muscles squeezing in, drawing down, sternum lifts. So really get into that. And then as you press into the arms, lift your hips up off of the floor, come into your bridge pose, and then come up on the tippy toes of your feet in bridge. Yep, tippy toes of your feet, maybe even walking your feet in towards your hips a little bit more. Coming up on the tippy toes, and see if you can start to simulate here, taking your hands to your lower back as though you're in shoulder stand. Can you lift that high that you can kind of get your hands to your lower back like you're in shoulder stand? If the answer is no, well, then you know there's something for you to practice here. Good. And then from that position, you might feel, if you still have a really solid foundation of your shoulders on the back, that you can lift one leg off of the floor up towards the sky. And you might feel here that you can push into your arms and support yourself, take the other leg up into shoulder stand. Nice. And if not, that's okay. Come into shoulder stand, whatever your normal way would be. Use momentum if you need, and then start to let your butt go higher as you start to let your legs in a straight leg start to drop, like your toes are going to come to the floor above your head. But don't stop the momentum of shoulder stand. You're still pulling your butt up towards the sky. Butt goes up as the legs drop down. Extend your spine, push your butt up to the ceiling. Butt up, butt up, butt up. Use your hands to help support. So you can actually walk your hands lower onto your rib cage to keep lengthening. Sacrum up. Good. And the legs will come to wherever they come to. They might not come to the floor. They might be hanging, and that's completely fine. You just don't want to have the sensation of they're hanging with no effort, right? They're hanging with no awareness. You're still pushing your butt up towards the sky. Your inner thighs are still pulling straight up. If your feet are on the floor, then you're pressing into the balls of your feet. Good. So that you could, in theory, once you're in plow, release the hands from the lower back, let your arms fall to the floor, as long as your shoulders are pressing down and wide and there's no pressure on your neck. Good. And then keep breathing through the spine. Keep lifting through your seat, lifting through your butt. If you cannot breathe completely in this position, then only hold for one more pretend breath and slowly come on down. Yeah. I said plow can be a position, is a position where our restriction in our back and our shoulders and our legs asserts itself, because now we are not able to compensate the way that we usually do. Another couple of breaths in plow if you can. Nice, and that's perfect, Mark, to come back in after being out. Good, and then you have a choice here. If your shoulders feel like they are very supportive in this position, and you have plenty of space to breathe, is you can start to roll out of this position without the use of your hands. The other option, if you really want to re-engage the strength of your back and your abdominals, is to keep the hands at the lower back, bring the legs back up straight towards shoulder stand. So you get into this feeling that as you're coming out of the pose, you have maximum space, right? You get super tall. Pull up through your side waist, pull up through your hips, pull up through your thighs, pull up through your ankles. Pull, 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 and press down and wide through the top ridge of your shoulders. Don't squeeze it in, go wide. Nice. And then you're going to roll down the spine one vertebra at a time, and you're going to keep your head relaxed the whole time. So as your hips start to come towards the floor, you can bend your knees, but try not to drop your hips and then have to crane your neck. So rolling down the spine, hollow, 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 hollow. This is keeping your abdominals engaged the entire time. Nice, Emily. Bend the knees. Plant the feet, please. Just rest there for a moment with the feet flat and the knees bent. Roll the head from side to side. So it's funny, we use plow as a rest sometimes when we're practicing shoulder stand, but it's really not different action in the back. It's more challenging on the hamstrings. It's more challenging on the lower spine in terms of stretch. Challenges your middle back. It will bring you up to face every bit of your restriction in your back and in your legs and your shoulders, in a way that when we do a seated forward fold, again, we take for granted what you can do. So being upside down, you have to harness an energy that's in you that you're using all the time, but you use it more clearly, more focused, more fully when you're upside down. You start to understand how to be in growth and not just having growth happen. How to extend and not just taking for granted that your body knows how to do it, but you learn to actually engage with doing, with growing. Good. If you'd like to take a fish pose here, you can keep the knees bent and feet flat. That is one way to do it. The other alternative is to stretch your legs straight out in front of you, keeping the legs together. You can point the toes. If your arms are alongside you, again, elbows can be bent into robot arms or straighten the arms, squeeze the arms up alongside your ribs. You can even slide your hands under your butt, palms facing down if you'd like. Good. And then from the back of the heart, again, draw in with the shoulder blades, expand wide through the collarbones, lift your sternum, press down into your seat, lifting, 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 squeezing into the upper back until you can lift the chin, drop the top of the head to the floor. No weight. Keep pressing down through your butt, through your legs. Good. If you have your arms straight alongside you, you can press into your forearms, bend the elbows to help support that. Good. Just the opposite action, shoulders wide away from the ears. So don't just squeeze them towards the middle of the back, but press wide. And then slowly release. Good. Unwind your hands from underneath you. Beautiful. Draw the knees in towards your chest. Good. Take the right thigh over top of the left. Stacking the knees, separate the feet, reach for the ankles or the shins. Good, and then release the feet, please. Draw the shins towards each other, scoot your hips over to the right, drop your knees to the left. Good, so spinal twist with the legs wrapped. If the legs do not appreciate being wrapped while twisting, unwind the legs and just stack the knees. And even in your twist, noticing what part of your back feels like there is restriction. Where does it appear? And the purpose of plowing is that it breaks up where there is stagnation, where there is hardness, where there is resistance, inability to move. Makes growth easier. Come back to center, please. Good. Switch the cross of the legs. Take the left leg over top of the right, stacking the knees, separating the feet, reaching for the ankles or the shins. So of course, plow pose is named for it resembling the shape of a plow, hand plow. Or at least in someone's mind, it looked like that. But the energetics, the symbology of that word, of that concept is exactly that, is finding where there are places that are stagnant, restricted, held. And can you harness the energy that has been held there, turn that ground so it becomes fluid, softer, malleable. So you can be engaged with growth. Good. Release the feet, squeeze the shins towards each other, scoot your hips over to the left, drop your knees to the right. And again, if twisting with the knees wrapped in this way does not feel good on any part of you, feel free to unwind the legs and just stack the knees. And then come back to center, unwinding the legs. Good, come into happy baby. Reaching for the ankles or the feet. Good. And then stop holding the feet, keep the legs in that happy baby position. Take your arms reaching through the legs, interlace your fingers, pointer fingers can point out. It's because it's fun. Deep breath in. As you exhale, curl your shoulders up off the floor, reach through the legs round and draw those knees towards your ears. So again, we didn't do this variation because I think plow is just enough, but this is a variation if you were in plow to bring the knees alongside the ears. So you can feel in this position, where is there restriction? Tells you where the restriction would be if you were doing it upside down. And then slowly release the shoulders, please. Nice job. And then hug the knees in towards your chest. I know you were like, I was so relaxed. And that was effort. Good. And then stretch the legs straight out in front of you, please. Walk your feet to the bottom right-hand corner of your mat. Move your shoulders to the upper right-hand corner. So feet to lower right-hand corner, shoulders to upper right-hand corner. Good. Arms can come overhead for a moment. Again, you're not staying for very long, so you don't have to get super comfortable, but just curl into that side. Good. And then move yourself back to center, please. Move the feet to the bottom left-hand corner, shoulders to the upper left-hand corner. Squeeze yourself the other way. Good. And then come back to center, please. Stretching the arms straight alongside the ears. Press out through your feet. Flex your feet. Press out through your arms. Full body stretch as you stretch in both directions. Draw your low rib cage down. Wide through your chest. Wide through your upper back. Good. Nice use of furniture, Mark. And then as you exhale, release, please, letting the arms come alongside you, letting the feet drop open. The end of effort. Because what we understand about growth is that we can till the ground, we can prepare, we can plant, we can water, we can cultivate. But the growth happens when we stop trying. Very gently bring the awareness back to the breath. Letting your body begin to stretch and move in whatever ways serve it well. Taking into account the places where you know your body tends to get restricted, where it tends to get tight, where it tends to get irritated. The ways that serve it well are the things that address what is uniquely happening with your body right now. And cultivating an environment for there to be greater openness, greater expansion. So as you're ready, draw your knees in towards your chest and roll to the right side. And then take a moment before you begin to push the floor away. Come back to an upright seated position. Bringing the hands together in front of the heart center, palm to palm. The plow position is one where we are asked to look at everything that is our restrictions and to acknowledge them as places where there is untapped energy that we haven't learned to harness yet, that we haven't discovered how to harness yet. So that we are really engaging in this process of what it means to grow. And we're not just assuming that if we keep trying hard enough, we just keep throwing effort in, that we'll eventually push past whatever those limitations are. right? The skill of the yogi is that they don't just keep pushing, they use effort where effort is needed, and they release effort where it isn't. And this is how we really grow in a very skillful and present way. As we learn ourselves from the inside out. And we cultivate in our life the environment in which that growth can occur, where there's room, less resistance, open space. So that's what Plow does. It gives us a chance to harness energy in a way that we take for granted when we are upright. Turn it upside down so that we know the strength that it takes for a sprout to push out of a seed, to get through the ground, for a bird to get out of an egg, or a caterpillar or a butterfly to get out of its chrysalis. Because that's what we need in order to grow. And then we allow that energy to flow freely and growth happens for us. But we're present with it. You till the ground. It's plow. Close the sound of Om, deep breath in. Sliding the thumbs up to the space between the eyebrows. Namaste. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for coming here instead of going outside to play.